Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. John Owen talks about sports and movies. Thank you for checking out today's video. I always appreciate the support. Let's get into it. So today we're going to talk about She-Hulk Eternity at Law Season 1. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts about it. But just overall, I freaking loved the show. I thought it was a great change of pace for the MCU, but it may not have been everybody's cup of tea, and we're gonna get into that. But I'm issuing a spoiler alert, and make sure you guys leave your thoughts down in the comments below. What did you think of the show? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Etc. With all that being said, let's get into it. So I personally loved the show. Um, probably probably my favorite thing the MCU has put out this year. Now I do want to acknowledge that this show may not be for everyone. It really worked for me, but it may not work for everyone. If you're the type of person who you love the MCU for the big action spectacle and the grandeur and the grandness to it, this show's not gonna work for you. Um, and that's okay. If you thought the CGI was really spotty, absolutely 100%. I completely agree with that. It was spotty. Um, if you thought, if you didn't necessarily want it to be a social commentary on stuff like that, that's totally okay. I really understand. If you're not into a show about a middle-aged woman, trying to figure out her dating life, totally okay. That's totally fine. That it's just this show was not going to be everybody's cup of tea. It's not going to be, and that's okay. That is really okay. Um, because the show is very divisive. Um, because of its meta commentary on trolls and kind of fandoms and stuff like that, and it really does go after the MCU fandom. And this show has been getting criticism left and right, but it's also been getting a lot of defense. So, um, me personally, I love that it goes after all the trolls and all the fandom and stuff like that. Um, because like those type of people need to be called out. I feel like a show like The Boys does that as well, but the people that they're going after don't realize that The Boys is going after them. So it's not quite as effective or as let me phrase that, as direct. I think The Boys and She-Hulk do similar things in that aspect. Now, The Boys is much better. I don't want to get that confused. But point being, um, and I just thought that. Hold on, sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there for a second. Um, and so I love the commentary, and I freaking love the huge wall break at the end where they acknowledge all of the MCU's problems. Literally, I love how this show is just vulnerable and honest and pokes fun at everything, stuff like that. And the fact that they wrote this a year, 2 years ago, and they knew they would get the type of reaction because they know the fans well, speaks volumes. And I love that. I freaking love it. I can't tell you how witty and creative I think it is. And some people may not like that, the fact that it's commentary. And that's okay. That is totally okay. But for me personally, it really worked. Um, I loved the sitcom format. The great thing about a sitcom is you can watch one episode out of context and enjoy it. But if you watch the entire show, there are some storylines that do build throughout that they resolve at the end of like seasons or at certain points of the show. I do think this is definitely a criticism. I do think the show is not exactly like doesn't have like the resounding conclusion that the MCU projects typically have or try to go for. Totally not. I mean, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. So if you were looking for like a really profound, deeply impactful uh, resolution to the story, you're gonna come away disappointed. And 99% of the time, I look for that in the media that I consume. But I think for She-Hulk, for me personally, that works. But if you walk away unsatisfied, totally, very, very extremely understandable. But I didn't mind it not being a typical um, strong conclusion, and especially because it pokes fun at the fact that most MCU endings have the big boss CGI fight that's rushed, and everything happens at the end and stuff like that. Especially the Disney Plus shows. That's been a consensus criticism of almost all the Disney Plus shows. I love that they poke fun and the fourth wall breaking. Um, and so it's been really interesting to watch the reaction to the show as well, because She-Hulk will do things throughout the show, and it'll be a wall break, or like twerking with Megan Thee Stallion, and stuff like that, like um and some people are just like up in arms about it, and I'm just thinking, if that was Deadpool doing it, you guys wouldn't have any problem, so that's been really interesting. But the show itself, to kind of pivot away from the reaction, some other things I enjoyed. The humor really worked for me. Um, I thought Jen was just charming and entertaining, and just a breeze to watch. And I loved all the side characters. Madison, um, what's her best friend's name? Mallory and Pug and Nikki. I think, yeah, Nikki. Emil the Abomination was great. Bruce was good in it for the little bit that he was in it. Um, I just thought everyone was super. It was really fun to just see like the random like superpowered individuals, and I saw some people kind of complain about that, which I don't think is unfair. But for me, it like this is a world filled with a lot of superpowered people, um, and they don't need all in this in depth origin. They just don't, and that's fine. Um, and I freaking loved Daredevil. I loved it. Matt Murdock is a Riz god. He was. I'm talking smooth criminal. Um, him and Jen are great. Um, and I love the Daredevil suit. It's not like all red like a classic, like the TV show at least. But I loved the Daredevil suit. I loved Matt. I thought he played a good role in the story, good amount of time. I don't think he really took the spotlight away from Jen, because I know a lot of people were really excited about Daredevil, rightfully so. The show's great. Show Daredevil's great. Charlie Cox is absolutely amazing. But so I just think like all of the characters work in the story for me. I really do think that Titania being the social media influencer, and Todd and all of the Intelligica people, you know, the show just works for me a lot. I didn't need this show to be, um, Captain America and the Winter Soldier. This like typical action comedy that the MCU does, which I love those. I do like the MCU is my favorite out of all of the movie franchise stuff like that. So I love a good action comedy. I love or really enjoy almost everything the MCU puts out. I really do, and I really mean that. Um, but I just really enjoy how fresh and different this show is, and what it brings to the table, and it just shows a different side of the MCU as well. Super powered, yeah, but I think it's a little more street level, down to earth, and stuff like that. And so, for me, the show really, really works. I could totally see how this may not work for some people, um, but if you don't, there's been some certain videos and some critiques I've seen. I'm like, I don't think you and I are watching the same show. I think there's total legit criticisms of this show, and I don't even think this is the MCU's best Disney Plus series or anything like that. Um, I'm not suggesting that at all, because I really do think there are some faults in the show of like the CGI is spotty. It's really spotty. Um, I think the story is kind of rushed. Even though they do a really creative way to kind of like get to get around that. Um, and stuff like that. But I think the show has some really legit criticisms, and I don't think it's perfect, despite how much I love it, and I just absolutely, uh, just really, really enjoy the show. Um, but the point of that ramble right there is, some people are disliking this show for the wrong reason. Um, and I don't like that. It's fine. It's totally fine to have criticisms of media. I have criticism of media all the time. I literally have this YouTube channel dedicated to it. But, there's been some like false, kind of takes or false analysis or just misguided or just, that's not even what happened, type takes. So, you know, those are the people that, I think are being the loudest critics of the show, and I think that's concerning. But that's probably another issue for another day. And this show tackles it great. Um, and also like I've heard people complain about, well, it's so much different than anything else the MCU does. Well, what are they supposed to do? You complain if a show has, you complain about the WandaVision finale because it's your same old typical MCU finale, or you complain about oh, well, all the MCU movies and shows are the same. Well, then they do something different, and then you get mad. It's just like this and Eternals, even though I do enjoy this more than Eternals. Um, whenever you do something different, then you complain. So I'm like, you got to pick. Do you want everything to be the same, or do you not, or do you want things to be different, or are you just going to complain just to complain? So that's frustrating too. But um, overall, I just really enjoyed the show. I totally see if someone didn't, but I freaking loved it. So overall, a completely different project in every possible way. I loved the sitcom format. Jennifer and all the side characters were so charming, and the meta commentary for me was fantastic. While maybe not the show for everyone, it certainly was the show for me. I'm gonna give it my own personal 10 out of 10. That's a completely subjective ranking to how much I enjoyed the show. Objectively, it's probably, you know, 7, 8, something like that. But just from a pure enjoyment standpoint, for me, I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. And I think it's a really unique addition to the MCU. But those are just my thoughts. Make sure you guys check out all the link content down below. And also, please like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss out on any of the fun. And you guys have a great night. Thank you for watching.